Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Alongside Podcast, which is a production of Heritage Baptist Church. The purpose of this podcast is to come alongside followers of Christ in order to have thoughtful conversations about the gospel culture and the church. Now, it's been a little bit for Alongside, and this is kind of a special episode inviting Joshua Hankins, pastor of Kids Ministry, and Chelsea Barnwell, the Kids Ministry Volunteer Coordinator, to the program to discuss, you probably guessed,
Children's Ministry.
Children's Ministry, that's right, including some awesome opportunities for you to get involved. Now, before we jump into all that excitement, I would like to kind of hear where you guys are, because last we talked on Alongside with both of you, it was kind of a new thing. You're stepping into this new responsibility over kids ministry. So Joshua, let's start with you. How's it been ramping up into pastor of kids ministry here at Heritage?
It's still a very new thing, very much.
Very, very news.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I'd say the most fun part about it is just like Sunday morning, looking out at all of the children in Blast Zone. That's when I don't know, it's Thursday right now, and I'm just kind of, my head is swimming. But
well, you were just in a classroom with a bunch of kids last night.
So it's Wednesday nights when I'm hanging out with the first graders, and then it's Sunday morning when I get to be with all of them all together. Yeah, that's the most life-giving part. You know, I kind of walk into Sunday mornings feeling a little anxious. That's just, you get the Saturday night anxiety attack. But then as soon as I'm right there, hanging out with them, it's just, it all goes away. So that's been the most fun part of it. I think another big thing a huge thing that's going on right now is we're just ramping up for VBS, and it's so cool to see the number of kids. We just passed 100 kids. Was it yesterday?
Awesome. Yeah.
Who have signed up to come to VBS. So I'm just really now crossing the bridge of, okay, this was a lot of work to get to this point, and now being able to see the individual names of the children who are going to be there, going to the different booths that we've been painstakingly talking about, and
you start seeing that vision come to life in many ways,
and putting faces into the empty International Plaza that's been in my head for a long time. So that's an exciting time.
That's awesome. Fun. And how about you, Chelsea? How's it been kind of stepping into this role? And I love y'all's team. I think it's just a dynamic, awesome team. And how's it been on your side of things as volunteer coordinator?
Yeah, it's been good. I have really been thankful for these past several months being in this role now. I'm thankful to be able to be using my gifts administratively. There's a lot of detail in what I do, kind of fine-tuning things, but I also am really enjoying getting to know our volunteers and connecting volunteers to each other on different teams, and finding the best placement for our volunteers and the right ministry with the right schedule. It has been really neat to see them, and then to see them in action, actually step into the class and see what they're doing and how that's impacting the kids.
That's awesome. So you're really kind of helping them be able to kind of walk out serving and caring for the body of Christ in a very specific way.
Yes, trying to do almost more like coaching, not only setting the schedule kind of thing. So
that's wonderful.
I think I really enjoy that part.
That's great. I love what you guys are doing. And what excites you most about what's coming, the future of Adventure Kids?
What excites me the most?
Yeah, what comes to mind when you think of the future of Adventure Kids? And
it's I'm seeing some fun things happening. Like we're doing so many things. Some things that haven't been announced yet that I can't really speak to, but I do get really excited about those things. We've been doing, like on Sunday morning with our elementary schoolers, we've been singing more hymns. We've been doing catechism with the kids, and they're just like, they're at the spot now where they're actually getting it.
Wow.
And we started this maybe like 4 months ago, and it's taken some time, but they're like really getting it. So that makes me so excited that, okay, in 2 years, what are the things that these kids are going to know? Amen. What are the truths about, the character of God and the beauty of his son that they're just going to have they're just going to have it ingrained. Yeah. So that really excites me.
That's wonderful.
One of the things.
What about you, Chelsea? Anything stand out to you?
don't even, same thing. I kind of don't know where to start.
Yeah.
I really am excited about some of these new things that we kind of have coming down the pipe, but also seeing some of the ministry areas that have been well established before we even got on scene, just seeing those continue to flourish.
Yes.
And maybe there are going to be some adjustments to those things, but just like those ministries carrying on with them, and continuing to see those grow is exciting. And just seeing more people involved, and then those who are involved, seeing them invested more deeply, and taking ownership of the ministry that they're serving in that particular area.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now that perfect segue, by the way. Thank you so much. One of the critical parts of kids ministry is the volunteers, and you need volunteers. I mean, just on a strict, in order for it to function, there are a lot of volunteers involved. How many would you say, do you guys have in a week or so?
Our number of official volunteers is around 300, a little over that.
Wow.
So
that's a lot of coordinating.
Yes.
Very cool. Now, kids ministry, people often they think, okay, serving in kids ministry, I'm just going to be changing diapers or something like that. But there's lots of different types of roles inside of kids ministry. What kind of things, when we're talking about volunteering, what kinds of roles do you guys have in kids ministry? Just kind of give a taste to people.
Well, you can check out our volunteer catalog, Mike.
Wow! Thanks, Joshua.
Which is this wonderful tool that we have on the hub.
We can go to hbclynchburg.com/volunteer would be a direct link. But yes, the hub usually has links to all that stuff.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's where you can see specifically all of the positions that we have available. But I mean, you're right. Well, sometimes you do have to change.
Well,
diapers.
that is part of it. That's one of the
it.
roles. Yes.
But that's not for everyone.
No.
So there are 1,000 other things that you can do.
Yeah, we have different areas as far as ages of children to serve with. We have some that are more large classroom and some that are small group. We have helper or support roles. We also have teacher roles. We also have some roles that are support in the sense of maybe more administrative, like supervising or running tech in the back, or helping with check-in and kind of being the go-between between the parents bringing their kids in and then getting them to the classroom. So there are really so many opportunities for people of all different kinds of giftings and talents
and skills. We're even looking for people who are musically inclined, who want to lead our preschoolers.
That's awesome.
Our goal is like a little traveling minstrel who can walk up and down the hallway with a guitar. We haven't found that person
wish
yet.
I could play a guitar or flute or something. I feel like the minstrel, I just have this image, just walking around little
pan flute.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'd be fascinating.
If you play the pan flute, please present yourself.
So you guys you're looking at raising some volunteer needs or really a kind of a volunteer development process. So share a little bit about what this is and kind of what you're wanting to do for your volunteers.
Yeah, so this volunteer development process has come out of a number of different goals that we've been trying to identify. And I'm so thankful for Chelsea's expertise in this. Chelsea and I were both teachers before we took this role in school.
Okay.
Chelsea has a lot more experience than I do, though. How many years were you teaching elementary school?
I was for 8 years. I was a classroom teacher.
Yeah. So Chelsea is bringing a really, really unique set of eyes to our classroom, and so many of these goals just came out of, okay, how are we? We're thrilled with where our classrooms are, but so much of this is, okay, how can we take them to the next level? And so some of the goals that we have are. The first one is to instill confidence in our new teachers by equipping them with tools, skills, and experience in the classroom. And so a huge portion of this is just seeing some of our teachers, I'm thinking particularly in our preschool setting, who are might be a little bit timid or nervous stepping into a new role, and we want to just give them confidence by giving them skills and experience and tools.
And sometimes there is, and I've seen this in certain kids ministries, where it is just basically, oh, you're a warm body, here's a name tag, go sit in that class.
Yes.
And there is a fear that comes from that, because like, I don't know what to do here, I don't feel equipped, and so you're desiring to come alongside and help equip so that you can really engage in ministry and not just be a person.
Yes.
There.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I think a part of that, that fear of, oh, you're just a warm body, please, we need you right now, or else we can't open the classroom.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens. But a lot of that just comes from a natural, just high rate of turnover within children's ministry. And so that's something that we are hoping to address head on, and that's one of our goals for this volunteer development process, is to increase our rate of volunteer retention in the classroom. So that if people are stepping into a Sunday morning, a classroom full of 23-year-olds, and they feel like they're not equipped with the skills and the tools to be able to teach them well, they're not going to last more than a year. Maybe a semester. I mean, that's scary.
Yeah.
So we're really trying to give our volunteers the tools to be able to find this to be a ministry that is so rewarding, and where they really buy into the vision and they can do it well.
That's wonderful. So as you're doing this, is this something, I know you guys have started part of this process, right? And how's it being received so far? Finding people are encouraged by that and equipped for it?
Yeah, it already has been very helpful this past semester. There were a few people who either, some of them we identified and reached out to them to see if they were interested, and some that reached out to us saying they were interested in kind of going to the next level. And there weren't immediate needs at the time that had started, but we decided to go ahead and kind of start that process, even though there wasn't immediate, like, well, this will be your spot for sure. Letting them observe in classrooms and try substitute teaching on their own with some observation and feedback. And already that has been so helpful, because I think everyone that started that process has done really well, and it's been really encouraging to get to the point and observe them teaching and be able to talk with them about it. And then there have been emergency needs, teachers stepping down for health reasons or moving, and we had someone who felt very equipped to step into that spot instead of kind of scrambling or doing different substitutes, a series of substitutes. And then our volunteer felt equipped too, though. So to be able to do it, they were willing, and then they had the tools because we had taken a little bit of time in the preparation. And we also know that's also best for the kids to have, we have ideals for how long a teacher would be there for consistency, but when there are emergencies, then it's more of a smooth transition. Again, instead of just kind of a series of subs until we can find someone. So I think it has gone really well kind of on all sides, for us, for the kids, the volunteers in the process. So it's exciting to see.
That's awesome.
And I think a really cool part of this process, which, by the way, I don't think we've explained what we're doing here. I think what we're looking to do is be able to look at a volunteer and say, hey, let's have a conversation about what role is going to be best for you, and let's look into the future and see, do you think that in 6 months, a year's time, you would like to be a classroom teacher, like moving up in levels of responsibility, and then just exploring that with him, and we have a process to do that. But the cool part about this process is, even if this person realizes, like, oh, you know what, actually, after observing different classroom environments, after even teaching maybe myself, they realize this is not for me. I really am best suited to be a classroom helper. It's not time wasted. We've been able to sharpen this volunteer's understanding of what it takes to be a teacher, and they've been able to look at themselves and see what their own skills are and what their desires are, and maybe that is to stay in the position that they're in.
And it makes them then a better helper
Yes.
because they
Yes.
understand, they still have that level of investment in the classroom, and they can kind of see it with different eyes. If it was like, oh, well, I know when I was the teacher, I was looking for my helpers in the back to do this. Like, oh, maybe I can step in and do that role here in the back and let the teacher keep doing their thing. So, yeah.
Which is really achieving another one of our goals for this volunteer development process, which is to call all of our volunteers, like everyone, all of them, to participate in the mission of our kids ministry.
I love that. It reminds me, just very clearly, just about the reality of the church itself, and that we each have different gifts and abilities, and God has brought us together to work together, and some may be in that teaching role and have that ability, and some may be there to support and care for.
Yes.
And when that happens, and when you find that spot, there is something just beautiful and life-giving, as you were talking about earlier, Joshua, where it's just like, man, I love being here, and I love being part of this, and especially if it's connected to kind of the vision and mission of kids ministry. So how would you articulate the mission of what you guys are trying to accomplish in kids ministry?
All of kids ministry?
All of kids ministry.
That's a great question. What we're trying to do as a whole is we're trying to introduce children to our God by teaching them the basic building blocks of God's character and introducing them to the person and work of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
So that's what we're shooting to do.
Yeah.
And if you can feel more confident and if you can own the position that you are in to be able to teach our children the character of God, knowing He is always, always good, and the person and work of Jesus Christ, then we're gonna be set.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, if you're listening, that sounds like something you may be interested in doing and being a part of. I would encourage you to go to the hub and find the volunteer link there. Now, for those who are interested and they're like, man, I really want to jump into this, what can they expect in this process of kind of onboarding, just so that they kind of come into it with clear understanding?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we would first definitely encourage them to reach out to us to let us know of their interest. Expressing interest is not a commitment. Again, as we've talked about, this is starting a conversation to see if this is the best fit. But if there's an interest, we would love to know about it, to be able to talk with them about that. And it would kind of be a conversation to see, again, first, okay, what do you think is the best age group for you to kind of target that. But then from there, we would try to schedule different opportunities for them to observe different people. So whether it's teachers, them observing other teachers, or maybe this is someone more of our supervisor administrative level, having them observe other supervisors. And kind of in that, we also have developed some templates for observation so that they even know like what to look for. So we have that. Then there'd be a conversation with either myself or with Pastor Josh or Pastor Tony, depending on the ministry area, kind of evaluating from those observations, what was learned, what questions do you still have, what other resources do you still need? And then we could talk about them kind of moving in, like, okay, if you're ready to substitute teach, or maybe it's not teaching the full lesson, but you want to take a portion of the lesson, we can do small. And then that first time, whatever their first time teaching, though, that would be with the support of a staff member there to there would be some evaluation in that, but it would also be a support aspect of they can, ask questions, wouldn't be on their own. And then from there, we could talk about what would be the best spot for them. And if needed, depending on the volunteer, particularly if it was a younger volunteer, maybe a teen, there could also be the added component of working through more of what is involved in preparing for a lesson. We could get down to even more of those details if that was what the volunteer needed. And
you did mention teens, and I think that's an important thing for many people to understand, is that kids ministry is a great place for teens to get involved in serving.
Yes.
And it's and you guys have been impacted. You've done that as well as teens, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Chelsea and I we both went through the youth group here at the same time.
Yeah.
Chelsea was older than me.
Wow.
Two whole years older. Yeah. And so when were you first teaching kids?
The first time that I remember teaching kids, I think I was in 8th or 9th grade, and I was taking a portion of the lesson when my grandmother was actually the teacher for the room of preschool kids, and she gave me a portion of the lesson to do. So that was the first time I remember teaching kids.
Really neat.
My first time teaching children was for a vacation Bible school that we did as a youth group here at Heritage back many years ago for the kids in Lynchburg. And we invited them to come into the church. It was for like a short-term missions trip locally. And actually, I was in 11th grade. Chelsea was a freshman at college and had come back for the summer and was tasked with, because she had so much experience in high school teaching, was tasked with actually coaching me in how to teach well. And
Full circle.
I
man.
know.
That's crazy.
So I was the first one to go through Chelsea's volunteer development process. And I remember, that summer just meeting week after week to refine my lesson, and I was teaching fifth and sixth grade, right? And and I very much remember the pointers that Chelsea made for me, and interestingly, there are things that I still tend to do wrong today.
Still have conversations. No, not wrong.
I'm still the same person I was in 11th grade, I guess. And so that was it is fun to be on staff together now and to be able to look back at that and see how really both of us began this journey when we were in the youth group. And truly, I'm going to throw out a number right now. This is not to shame. This is truly, truly, truly not to shame. We only have 2 male teens, senior high, who are working and serving in our children's ministry. And but how many girls do we have? Like, fair number.
At least a dozen, if not more.
So it's a good number. I would personally love to see more young youth men to step into kids ministry. I think there's a stereotype, I guess, of children's ministry being for women because it's a motherly thing. Do fathers not exist? Can we not be fatherly to these kids?
To that point, children really, they are impacted by men in just a different way.
Yes.
And it really is profound. If you've been in kids ministry at all, you've seen a bit of that distinction with men who are serving in kids ministry. I remember, one of my first experiences in kids ministry was soon after Amy and I got married. We were just volunteering at our church at the time, and it was like a class of like 3-year-olds. So it was chaos, right? But they just loved that attention, and specifically from me at times, it was just really, really amazing. So whether it's in those little ones or whether it's in our kids who are in pre-adolescent, they're preparing for this transition into teenage life. Having men who are part of that, I know that was an impactful thing for my son as he was going into high school, to have some of these men who were able to speak into their life and share. And so I would strongly encourage, right along beside you there, Joshua, for guys to be involved in this. And as a teen guy, that's a great way to learn and grow and to be able to just impact life even early on.
To have a place while you're in high school to start demonstrating that influence and to start sharing the love of Christ to those who are in your care. That is a life skill that we as a church ought to be sharpening.
Definitely. Lots of opportunities abound, and strongly encourage people. I'm kind of biased towards kids ministry because I did it for so long and I absolutely love it. So I definitely encourage that. And for those who are wondering, we do background checks and ministry safe training to help equip people. So that's all part of it as well, just for the safety standards in our kids ministry. But if you have questions, please reach out to Chelsea, reach out to Joshua, and just seek it out, man. It really is worth your time and effort. So anything you would like to say to those maybe who were on the fence about serving?
Get off the fence.
Oh, man. There you go.
It's not very gentle. I'm sorry.
I think I would, again, just encourage if you haven't been serving yet, there are, and to serve in kids ministry, your first spot does not have to be teaching a classroom of 30 kids by yourself. There are, again, those support roles. Those, maybe typically most of our volunteers commit to twice a month, but even if it's once a month or on the sub list, something to kind of, if you're on the fence, it's okay to sort of ease in. And again, I hope many of our current volunteers will hear this and again be encouraged just to kind of take the next step to invest a little more. We do greatly appreciate all our current volunteers, and we do want to encourage more involvement and more investment, but we want to do that while offering support. We don't want to do that to the point of burnout where we just need more time, more time. It's we want the time that they are investing to be of the highest quality, that it has the most impact, and we would really like to help them do that.
It's not just demanding more, it's wanting to personally invest in. And see that growth and maturity and equipping for just greater influence and involvement, really in gospel proclamation among our kids here at church. And so I get excited about that. I love to hear that, and knowing just how critical volunteers are. So grateful for the nearly 300 volunteers.
It's amazing.
Right.
It really is amazing. And
I would say, I don't know when this will be airing, but particularly during the summer when our college students go home, that is a crucial time for us where we're going to need volunteers. That can be a short-term commitment, though. Again, maybe someone who is feeling a little more on the fence or is nervous about committing to a full year. If a short-term commitment for the summer would be a huge blessing to our kids to allow them more consistency until more of the regulars return from coming back in the fall. So that would be a great option as well for people to consider as short-term commitment for the summer.
Okay. No, that's a good point. I think a lot of people don't realize that when summer happens, so many students who are serving leave, families go on vacation. I mean, a lot of things happen.
Right.
And so having a base of people there to fill in that gap is so crucial.
Absolutely. We have about 80 college students who leave, and then that doesn't count the people who just travel for other reasons.
And so I would encourage, if you're listening, that is a great place to even step in and say, hey, I can help during the summer. And a lot of times you start serving and it's like, man, I enjoy this. This is a blessing, and you end up staying.
Yes, and that's a need from infancy to 6th grade. It's all across the board.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here and kind of sharing about kids ministry and the needs there, but also what you're doing to help equip and train volunteers. For all those listening, again, I encourage you to go to the hub, and there you can find a link to the volunteer page where you can look and peruse through all the exciting listings there. Everything from music to helping with the little babies and rock them. So whatever it is, it's there for you. Well, this has been another episode of the Alongside Podcast. For more details on Alongside, including show notes, past episodes, and more, you can visit alongsidepodcast.com. I'm your host, Mike Crump. Thanks for listening, and we hope you'll join us next time as we come alongside other followers of Christ in order to have thoughtful conversations about the gospel, culture, and the church.